Have you ever found yourself putting things off until you retire? I know a lot of people who do this, but unfortunately, with each passing year, the likelihood of us completing that list gets less and less. As someone who's helped guide a lot of people to and through retirement over the past 20 years, I'm going to tell you the true cost of not taking action at the right time. These are things that aren't always obvious until you're able to see them from different viewpoints. It's important to say, of course, that you can't rush into a decision. You do need to have done some retirement planning first. None of what I say here is a recommendation because I don't know your circumstances. But if you've got a pot of money that you think might be enough and you're on the fence, I'll share how you can be confident that you have and how to address that feeling of, what if I don't feel ready? But first, I want you to imagine that this jug of water is all the time that you've got left on this earth. Think of all the things that take up time in your life now. We know that on average, we sleep about 8 hours a day. So a third of our time for the rest of our days will be spent doing that. But what else is there? Well, there are jobs around the house and garden, trips to the supermarket perhaps, time spent preparing meals, keeping appointments, dropping the kids and grandkids off to places. Now, these are all things that we have to do, and we generally don't mind doing, but they all require time. So how much of what is left do you want to spend on work? If you were to work another 10 years, let's say, at an average of 40 hours a week, that would mean spending 2 full years of your life working. Add in travel time, and you might have just lost another 6 months. So how much of what is left would you say is good time, healthy time, where you can be active and you've got the fitness and energy to do all of the things that you've always wanted? Even if you were to live to the ripe old age of 90, you might find that 10 to 15% of your life is unavailable for doing those things. So this is what's left. What will you do with it? There might be places you want to go and new things you want to learn. How much will you get to spend with friends? How much will you get to see family? Something that happened to me recently made me think about this a lot. Anyone who knows me will know that I'm a massive football fan. I'm a Wolves supporter, and I've been a season ticket holder for a long time, but only a small part of going to the matches is about the football, fortunately. It's more about the fact that every couple of weeks I have the chance to catch up and have a few beers with some of my oldest mates. Now recently there was a massive backlash when Wolves put up their ticket prices, so we've now got the most expensive season tickets outside of London. Based on what is anyone's guess. But we all said the same thing. If we didn't renew and have that reason to get together every couple of weeks, we probably wouldn't. In fact, I'd probably only see these mates a couple of times a year. And as we got older, that would become less and less. So I realised it could easily mean I'd only see some of my favourite people in the world maybe another 50 or 60 times in my life. When you look at it like that, it really drives home just how precious time is. Money is of small value by comparison. If you've only got a small amount of good free time left, do you really want to waste it? Or do you want to spend more time with the people you want to be with? Time is precious, and that's the first big reason to retire. But there's another factor that can either enhance or detract from that time like nothing else. And retiring early gives the opportunity to really work on this thing. Imagine a car, and the owner of this car lets the fuel tank run too low before refilling it, they never change the oil, and there's some warning light blinking on the dashboard that's just been there for ages. How long do you think that car lasts before it breaks down? Now imagine it changes owners, and the new owner looks after it well. They service it regularly, and they even give it a nice shine up every Sunday with a turtle wax. It's likely to last a lot longer, and the sooner the new owner comes along, the longer it'll last. It's exactly the same with your health. The sooner you can be like the new owner, the better. It can be hard to focus on your well-being when you're busy with work. But when you retire early, you not only get some extra years at the start, you can add some good years to the end too by working on it. So focusing on your health to improve the quality of your time is the second big reason not to delay. So you know you can capture more time and improve the quality of it. Why else would you want to retire as soon as you can? Well, have you ever said to a younger person,
"Oh, if only I could go back to your age knowing what I know now."
Well, retiring is about the closest thing you're ever going to get to that, with the added advantage that you've actually got some money. Okay, maybe it's not quite the same in terms of career prospects, But Ray Kroc was in his mid-50s with a dodgy ticker when he started to build McDonald's. So who knows? The world really is your oyster. There's nothing wrong with working if you enjoy it. Still feeling a sense of achievement, in fact, is a good thing, whether it's through paid or voluntary work, non-executive directorships, teaching or mentoring, even angel investing. Or maybe it's just that new hobby that you've always wanted to take up. A client of mine recently started gliding at the age of 75. The idea of Jim just gliding along above the South Downs makes me smile every time I think of it, because surely that's what retirement is all about. Trying new things, learning new things. It's all possible. I read a book recently by Peter Hargreaves, one of the billionaire founders of Hargreaves Lansdowne. He said that his favourite thing is his vegetable garden. He gets more joy from knowing he's growing the veggies in his Sunday lunch than anything. And the most ironic thing about that is that he's somebody with the money to do anything, but he gets the most happiness doing something that anyone can do. It's not just about money. Personally, I want to grow lion's mane mushrooms, mainly since I saw Jeremy Clarkson do it on Clarkson's Farm, which is a programme I love, by the way. I think it's just the way Clarkson narrates things, the way he starts his sentences up here and ends them down here. But there's another really good reason not to delay retiring, and it's simply because there hasn't been a better time to do so in almost 20 years. There are a couple of key reasons for that, which I'll explain. For years after the global financial crisis kicked off in 2007, we saw negative real returns on things like savings and government bonds. That's because the interest rates they paid were at rock bottom levels and couldn't even keep up with the rising cost of living, which meant that your money would just buy you less stuff every year. Now though, with interest rates higher, it's possible to get positive real returns, even on low-risk investments. As well as that, higher interest rates also mean annuity rates are higher. And annuities are plans that pay you a guaranteed income every month. And the last time they paid what they are now was around 15 years ago. Now this is good news for people retiring, because ideally you want to take risk away from your investments when you start taking income. For a long time, the amount of guaranteed income you could get from annuities was really low, so people ignored them altogether. Now though, they can form part of the overall picture again. How long for? We don't know. But the cost of delay here is that when interest rates really go down again, you've missed out on that chance to lock in a higher income level. The final reason to retire, which I'm going to explain to you more about, is because you're ready to, from a financial standpoint. You might not know it yet, and you may need to spend some time working it all out. If that's the case, there's a video linked in the description below that should help, because it tells you about 2 cash flow calculators that will do a lot of the work for you, one of which is completely free. But even when you've done all that work and you know that you're in a good financial position, you might still be hesitant. Now, this is something that I come across a lot, and there are a few reasons for it, but it's worth remembering the following. We tend to overestimate our spending in retirement, and that's because we think we'll keep spending at the same rate. From my experience though, your spending tends to drop when you get to about your mid-70s. It can sometimes go up again if you go into care, but even when that happens, other costs at that point tend to completely disappear. I'm talking things like holidays and eating out. Even most household costs will go. So although you need to be prepared for it, the overall spending doesn't necessarily increase as much as some people imagine. Good preparation will allow you to plan for this, but you can't plan for every eventuality, and there will always be events to worry about. No time in history has been different, nor will it be different in the future. But if you've done the work, if you've been conservative with your projections, you've considered everything you reasonably can do, and the numbers are still looking good, have confidence in them. You can always ask a professional advisor for help too if you need that extra validation, but don't leave it too late. After you've made that decision though, you absolutely need to be aware of the biggest mistakes people make that can destroy their retirement, which is why you need to watch this video next. In it, I'll break down those mistakes so you know how to avoid them and have the best retirement possible. I'll see you there.